AskReddit by Boy Plays T. What was your worst they can say is no event that ended worse than a no? Asked my crush to homecoming. Was honestly shocked she said yes. She was texting one of our mutual friends how she wasn't going to have any fun at homecoming since I was going with her. Should have cancelled on her last minute and gone with someone else. In junior high, I asked out my first boy crush and he said I don't date guys. Dart. I'm a girl. Ouch. Asked boss for a raise. Got fired. That happened to my husband too. They said he was greedy for asking for a raise and not accepting what his boss thought he needed. Briefly had a job going door to door talking to people about solar power. Whole idea was we weren't selling anything, just giving information, so I wasn't worried about commission or anything. If someone wasn't interested, fine by me. Walked up to a house that looked super nice and normal. Didn't have no solicitation signs or anything. Instead of just saying no, they literally pulled a gun on me, lol. I'm looking for a finkel and a clean pair of shorts. Oh, this is a good one. I got a job offer after being out of work for months. I had questions about the usual: salary, time off, nothing major and not making demands. Just asking. If they had said no to all of them, I'd have taken the job anyway. Their response? I'm sorry but we are withdrawing the offer. What? Who does this? Had the same thing happen to me 20 odd years back. Had completed 2 interviews and been offered the job. Wasn't particularly wild about the position but money was a significant raise, so had accepted. They asked if I had any further questions and I inquired about leave entitlement and whether there were additional benefits like pension. Not unreasonable to ask at that stage, I'd have thought. They withdrew the offer on the spot, said if I was that mercenary I'd likely not be the right fit. At the time I was devastated and actually embarrassed that I defked up. Looking back, definitely dodged a bullet. I thought she'd say no. What she actually said was, can you not? Asked my mom if I could do roller derby at 19 and she took my car away and drained my bank account. She ended up putting the money back and giving my keys back a couple days later, but what the fuck was that? My best friend got a nose piercing and her mom was screaming that she was gonna completely cut her off, including kicking her off all their insurances. Hours later she was like, haha, you thought I was serious. I once went to a job interview that I drove an hour and a half away from my house, and when I got there, the door was locked. I knocked, I called, I waited a little bit in case they were at lunch. No one responded and so I left. Fuck them. Turns out it was the building next door. Asked out this girl in middle school and she said I think I'm gonna throw up. Heard like hell when I was little, but when we met up years later, I found out it was because she was nervous. Once a girl asked me to go to prom with her. I said I'd rather die and went off to play footy or something. Came back to the form room 30 minutes later or something and she sat there crying with all her friends, who are looking at me like I kill puppies. I meant I'd rather die than go to prom, not than go with you. But I genuinely didn't realize the mistake until way too late and I didn't wanna bring it up again. I still think about writing to her and explaining. 13 years later. Years ago I met this guy from online. We went to the movies together and because I was young and dumb, I let him drive me home. He asked if I wanted to go back to his place but I said no, I was too tired and wanted to go home. He took this very badly and turned into a maniac. He said nothing else the whole time in the car and turned the heat up all the way. He then got off the main road, turned the car around and drove in the opposite direction of my house. He then turned down an industrial street and went into a secluded parking lot. He turned the car off and sat there quietly, with a psychotic look on his face, for what seemed like forever. I tried talking to him in a nice and calm manner but he wouldn't say a word to me when I asked him direct questions, like why are we here? Then by some miracle he started the car and drove. I never gave him my exact address, just the main intersection, so as soon as we got close I told him we were at my house. I walked towards this strange house, but as soon as I got out of the car he sped off, so I went to the back and stayed there for a bit before walking home. That is terrifying, and I'm so glad it ended the way it did. I asked my older brother if I could pick a show on TV when we were younger. The asshat nearly broke my arm at the shoulder. I feel like that probably wasn't very nice of your brother. My coworker asked for a raise, and instead of getting the raise he got fired. On the way out, he saw a TV in a box on the floor and asked if he could buy it, and they gave it to him for like 50% off. Edit. Just talking about this makes me miss my dude. I never laughed so hard at work than with this guy. Simon, if you still out there, I hope they didn't deport you back to the UK. Should have taken it as his severance package. Asked this girl I had been talking to out in Spanish class to school dance. She said yes. I was so excited I ran out that weekend and got a suit, told my friends, etc. She calls me on Sunday, which was surprising since I realized I hadn't ever given her my number. Well, she had asked around in order to get it so she could tell me she had just froze up and panicked in the moment, but was actually waiting for some other guy to ask her. So not only was I out money for a suit, my whole friend group and her whole friend group knew the story of my rejection. Incidentally, this was the second time in high school I asked someone to a dance and they said yes only to change their mind before the event, but after I bought clothes for it, the other had told me the color of her dress and I got a shirt a damp, tighter match. I did not ask anyone to any more dances or really dates in general after that. Lol, something similar happened to me. Except it was prom. Girl I asked out said yes. Then a couple of days before prom she called me up and cancelled. Better than getting stood up, I guess. But I had bought a suit, rented a limo, the whole shebang. Ended up not going. Found out later though, that she cancelled on me because another guy she was into asked her. He ended up ditching her at the dance and left with another girl. So, there's that. Asked my crush to dance in middle school, said he already had a dance partner, so I said okay, that's fine and walked away, only to look back at the sound of laughter and see him dancing with a chair. He decided to show me, in front of everyone, that I was less attractive than a chair. So that was great. AWH, this is the worst. Chairs are notoriously bad dancers, 2 left feet and all that. I once asked for a girl's number at work that I thought I was on pretty good terms with. She laughed in my face and said, "You want my number? I'm not gonna give it to you." That was pretty shitty. Probably dodged a massive bullet if that's how she's reacting to such a question. Went to knock on someone's door to ask for money as part of an annual high school band fundraiser. Ended up being attacked and bitten by their dog. Left me with permanent damage in my leg and the fear of dogs. I'm still not 100% over 12 years later. I mean, you never got to ask a question. A mutual friend of ours told a boy I liked him and he said I was the ugliest bitch he's ever seen and that I'm so flat that when I turn to the side I disappear. I feel that. I never wanted to tell anyone about my crushes, but in like the 4th grade a friend wormed it out of me after I made her promise repeatedly not to tell anyone. She walked off and came back 5 minutes later with a smile. He doesn't like you. Who else do you like? She really couldn't understand why there was no one else and why I wouldn't give her another name. I didn't tell anyone about a crush until it was like 5 years after high school and the person in question had transferred out of our high school sophomore year. Guys saying yes and going out, but actually having zero interest. I feel like it's more embarrassing to get emotionally invested in a person you're going on dates with and then find out that they are not and never were interested than it is to just get rejected outright. I had a guy that flirted with me hardcore and then he stood me up on the night of our first date. Like, WTF, don't flirt with me then. I asked the guy to a dance sophomore year. He said no in private and mocked me for asking him in public. A bunch of people would follow me in the halls or say to me in class, "Do you wanna go the masquerade dance with me?" It was embarrassing and I hated him after that. Why was that necessary if you turned me down in private and I didn't push the issue? Insecurity. People punch down in an attempt to build themselves up. Especially teenagers in front of their peers. I am an inventor and I walked into a meeting to show someone what I did and tried to land the sale. I left with them threatening me with legal action if I moved forward with my invention. I think they were going to steal my idea, or just wanted to block me from going to a competitor after they said no. I would have told them I'll invent something for them to go fuck themselves with. Bartender was flirting up everyone at the bar. Me being the drunk idiot thought her eyeballing me meant she may be into me. Got her number and immediately knew it was fake. Had to keep talking to her like I didn't just get rejected hard ass. Flirty behavior plus booze equals more tips. When you ask a girl out when she is with her friends, and they bust out laughing. If you can't even get the person alone to ask without a group around, getting a yes is a big push. They said yes and then I whiskey dicked. You get a whiskey dick, you get a vodka dick, you get a lager dick, you get a cider dick. When I was 16, 18 years ago now, I was at a skating rink, and then a couple's song came on. My friends and I went every Friday, and there was a girl who frequented there, and would always look at me and smile. They had an aggressive skating section with a ramp and rail to grind. My friends and I were actually extremely good at aggressive skating, to the point where we were sponsored on an amateur team for a clothing company. She would frequently come over and watch me and my friends, and was always clapping and saying "oh" when I did a trick. Never when my friends did it, only me. So I asked her if she wanted to skate. She looked me dead in the eyes and said sorry, I don't skate with ugly people, and proceeded to roll away. He was a skater boy, she said see you later boy. I thought the worst was she could say no, but then she had her friend tell me to stay the fuck away from her. So, that. To be fair, I didn't have much game in high school. I still don't, but I didn't then, either. In junior high I had a crush on Jennifer, this raven-haired beauty who sat a couple tables away from me in science. I gathered up all my courage and asked her if I could walk her home. She said no. I mean, you can walk home, just not with me. I still have scar tissue from that one. Very similar to the old baseball tell. Casey Stengel went out to the mound to take the pitcher out of a game. But I'm not tired yet. Well, I'm tired of you. In 8th grade I asked a guy out and he told me no and proceeded to ask my best friend out 2 days later. She said yes. He later told me he thought I